What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. I'm BobbyFi with my man, Eric Tabor. Not such a happy Thursday for me. Did not do particularly well last night. We called a lot of really good plays, made a lot of really good points about pivots, especially about Podol and how they don't necessarily need him because of the size. But unfortunately, like I said I was going to do, I did. I ended up playing a lot of Podol, and obviously that was the big difference in the day for me. Yeah, I mean, there was some great calls, some not so great calls. But I feel ready to get back after it, even on this 4-game set. It's really weird, but I think there's probably some edge some places just based on early projections. I think there's some things a little bit off. So, Sheets, what is your first thoughts about this slate, and how did you end up yesterday?
Yeah, I ended up doing okay on FanDuel and not as well on DraftKings. The one play that I was, again, I do not like to be results oriented. The one play I was very, very happy about, and I like to judge things just as lock happens. In other words, I like to see where I'm at relative to ownership. And when I saw that Embiid was very popular and Ayton was 0%, and this is almost like under 10% owned on FanDuel. Remember, we went over this yesterday. If you didn't want to pay down, there are two ways to go. You can either pay down for Podol or pay up for one of those guys. And I think the ownership gap between, forget that Embiid got injured. I don't really, I don't care. The point was that I got the ownership gap that I wanted with Ayton. And he ended up like really, really doing well. But that's not even the point. And I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm content with my Podol play. I think I am. It just, I got Popovich. I guess it's the way it goes.
It's the only thing I'm frustrated about is like you didn't play 150 lineups like I did and all that. True. And I didn't have Podol locked in, but I had him 60%, which is still actually less than the field. But
that's fair.
And I swapped out. I ended up being able to swap out about 10% of that to Lonnie Walker, which was better than Podol. And he didn't have to get benched the second half. There's a lot of things that could have happened differently, but it was an annoying situation because when we talked about it on air, I said it on our show. I said it on the QL TV live show. I said the one thing about playing a guy like Podol tonight is you got to realize they don't need size against Dallas. So that's exactly what happened. They didn't use size.
The other thing that we learned yesterday, again, only you had to be here yesterday to know what I'm talking about, but yesterday DeAndre Hopkins beat the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. And the concept was, when you have a guy who are people really matchup proof, or is matchup really a big deal? And Trae Young, it just freaking goes freaking off every freaking game. It's just freaking nuts.
Right.
Once again, he looked like he was just kind of whatever. And the next thing you know, it's like, boom, he goes on this run where he scores like 20 fantasy points in like 4 minutes.
Yeah, but as great as Trae Young was, I mean, FanDuel, DraftKings, or whatever, I mean, you could play Luka and Westbrook and you get even better, or on DraftKings an even better.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying from a slate perspective you had to play Trae Young. I'm just saying just from an analysis perspective, when you think about some of these guys, you get Trae Young yesterday. He was 6.9% owned. You know what I mean? And the reason why was because of the matchup. And some guys are just, some guys you just got to play, I think.
I mean, he's one of those. Yeah, but he definitely is. The only reason why it was hard yesterday was because I liked him too. I like that playing the low ownership. I just was like, Westbrook didn't have the ownership he should have either.
I agree.
And Luka Luka had his thumb. He had to come out of the game. He almost didn't all the things, and he still put up 60. You know what I mean? He didn't.
That's absolutely amazing. I mean, when you think about it,
it's crazy. He just dominates every game that he plays in. Anyway,
and maybe all 4 of those guys one day could be as good as Karis LeVert. So
Karis LeVert was spectacular last night. That was a great call by you. I actually had him over the field and still didn't win money. I had about 25% of them on DraftKings and about 25%. I guess it's 25% on FanDuel too. The problem was where I had LeVert, and that wasn't a problem to have him with Beal, but you'd obviously, if you didn't have the LeVert-DeRozan combo, then you were playing from behind just based on pricing and everything.
Well, the thing about LeVert, which is sneaky, is they still give him these sneaky like second unit runs.
That's right. That's exactly how it goes, and that's when he goes crazy. He goes crazy in the end of the first quarter, beginning of second quarter, the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth. And then they bring him in with 4 minutes left because he plays most of the third through fourth. And then they bring him in with a few minutes left, and hopefully you get something out of him then. But by the time, look, with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, I think he had 65 or 68 or something.
Yeah,
he was just nuts.
We need today to again, you've got to help me just not go crazy. In other words, there's going to be guys that are popular. And then there's going to be guys that are not as popular, but they're still going to be popular because it's a 4-game slate. Right. So you don't have to go completely bananas to get different. You know what I mean? And you also have to resign yourself to the possibility that you might not end up that different. You know what I mean? It's just, It's a 4-game slate, so it's there are not enough players to be able to make real differentiating lineups without really making stupid plays.
Well, I want to make a point right off the bat. Don't be a projection. I don't like to say it. I don't know what the right word is. Don't be a slave to projections on days like today. We have a lot of speculation, and it's one that we should have thought more about the Spurs game yesterday, obviously. And there's the perfect example today where you've got a guy like Rajon Rondo who's going to be 5 million% owned, and a guy like Alex Caruso who's going to be completely unowned at the same price, the same position. When all I've heard in LA as a Laker fan, on the radio, everything, why don't we just get Rondo out of this thing once and for all and let Caruso have all the minutes? Everybody feels this way. The Lakers' numbers with Caruso on the court, especially with LeBron, unfortunately he's not obviously there tonight, are phenomenal. Their numbers with him are much better than they are with Rondo. I'm not saying that he's going to get the starting role. I'm not going to say he's going to get more minutes. It just is a more fluid situation that one little pivot might be perfect just to potentially win you a tournament. You might have a lineup that's fairly chalky, and you make that one pivot, and Rondo goes for 15 because they don't like the way they're playing. They get off to a bad start. Caruso starts the second half, and Caruso puts up 45. That's in the realm of possibility, and right there you can just immediately differentiate yourself and give yourself a shot to win a tournament.
I guess depending on the audience, I wonder what's better. What's the better phrase? Slave to projections, I like, because that's a little more classy than what I was gonna go with, like maybe projection donkey or projection whore. That could be another one.
That's what I was gonna say, and then I thought I didn't even know if I was allowed to say that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm wearing a collared shirt, so I can probably.
you got some ears on me, and you have the collared shirt.
Yeah, so I could probably pull it off. You build up the equity. If you don't curse for like 7 days in a row, you could throw one good one in, and and you can get away with it. You can pretend you're being intellectual when you say it. But the idea is that it's no different than normal in that projections, are just kind of, first of all, they're immediate, and second of all, everything is a function of ownership. You know what I mean? So if you guys going to project really, really well and, going to be 80% owned, I don't really care as much. You know what I mean? And you got a guy like Rondo, like you said, who's got some kind of funny variance to him. That's the best way I could describe it. Kind of the outside the projection variance is kind of like just because he's Rondo. You know what I mean? Like there's no quite other way to put it mathematically. And the thing that you were saying about these little narratives, these little things that you hear about that are just can't be accounted for in the projections, just because, and I stress this all the time, when you talk about narratives and all this stuff, just because you can't quantify them exactly doesn't mean they don't have an impact. You just don't know exactly what it is, know? And so you can certainly take a guess and say, listen, I don't know how much this Caruso thing matters. And I certainly can't, quantify it, but I know it's something, and something's better than being accounted for.
This is about for example, if they were going to play a normal game tonight, Alex Caruso would probably get more minutes than Rajon Rondo would if LeBron was playing. So we're going to assume just because LeBron's out that we need Rondo to run it. And don't get me wrong, the problem about fading a guy like Rondo is you could be looking at a 50 tonight for him. I mean, especially in this matchup. So when you fade,
so what? But so what? You know what I mean? That means you just lose. Big deal.
That's it. That's it. You cannot try to beat his number if he goes off, if he's, does this thing. But you can try to pivot and say, hey, somebody else might get there. And you have another guy in your lineup who I also think is going to get overlooked in this position, or two of them, that also we can make that case for. Anyway, let's get into it, man. Let's go game by game, because that initial, I think that on the slates like this, it is good to point out that one initial thing. Like you could literally make one pivot and then just play chalk and actually get a 1% to 5% guy. I bet by the end of the day, though, people get onto the Caruso thing a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm just telling you, there's.
But what I mean though is that, remember, tonight a low-owned guy means like 15%. You know what I mean?
Right, but Caruso is like, people don't think he's going to be 1%.
Oh well, he just has to be.
He's projecting it like at 3.5, 4x or whatever. When there's a bunch of guys. Anyway, well, there's another great pivot I can talk about too in the Portland game.
Okay. So let's start with the Knicks Philly, and what are we gonna do at center on Philly? You know what I mean? Is it Kyle O'Quinn season? You know what I mean? I hate that season. That's a really, really terrible season to be a part of. I mean, you think that the the winters in Buffalo are tough. I mean, Kyle O'Quinn's season is a very, very difficult season to navigate. So I guess I'm going to take kind of the easy way out and go with the most logical, Al Horford. He's probably going to project to be really, really good. As a matter of fact, I'm just looking right now, and yeah, I mean, he looks like him and Harris look like kind of locks, with both Simmons and Embiid out is just kind of ridiculous. So those two guys are going to be probably huge chalk across all the, as they say, across the industry, site to site, and a 4-game slate. You got to find me some better value than this. I can't find it quite yet, but we'll talk about it. So Horford, Harris, I do like both them a lot. Then there's again Josh Richardson, and then how much time do you want to spend analyzing the rest of this stuff? I kind of feel like an idiot not playing Shake Milton yesterday. Maybe that's just being results oriented. But maybe with Simmons out, he's the one that's going to really just get these point guard minutes. I think Burks got the close yesterday. I don't know what to do here. So Philly, for me, I'm just going to be very easy right now and just say Horford and Harris. And then on the New York side, everybody's projecting horribly. But on a 4-game slate, if you want to play a couple of Philly guys, it would be nice to put a New York guy in. So you want to take a shot at Randall coming off a 25-minute game where he was on pace to do some really, really good things. And does him playing 25 minutes means that they're tanking, or?
Sorry, we had to pause there for a second when my fire alarm has gone off. They're doing these things and they don't tell us when they're testing. It drives me nuts. Either that or my building's on fire. But you were breaking down the Knicks.
No, I wanted to tell you that the reason why that alarm went off, Bobby being like a DFS genius, like he has this special software enclosed in his building that whenever someone starts talking about playing a guy that's going to be like an atrocious play, the alarm just goes off and cuts him off. So I was about to start talking about playing Julius Randle as kind of a run back with Philly. And, last night I'm like, he's playing 25 minutes in a close game. I was about to say there's no way I can play Julius Randle anymore. I think the Knicks are going to be in full freaking tank mode. And I can't think of any other reason why they wouldn't play him more minutes. I don't want to hear that he's on a freaking back-to-back. They're in the middle of like one of the only games they can win. You know what I mean? Why not play him? So, and now I'm about to say, okay, well, you know what? Now that I'm playing these two Philly guys, let's go play Julius Randle. So I will say he's projecting terribly.
Part of the problem for him though was legitimate. Yeah. Like Mitchell Robinson was playing terrific, and they were playing really well with both Taj and
Bobby Portis.
And Bobby Portis, Bobby Portis was dominating last. For some reason he owned Charlotte. He always destroys that team. That's the problem with these Knicks. There's like 15 power forwards and centers, and it's just like it's annoying. It's hard to.
I don't know. Randall's like 20 points better than anybody else on this freaking team. I couldn't imagine why they wouldn't. I don't want to hear about Bobby Portis and Mitchell Robinson having a good game. They still lost double digits to the worst team in basketball. You know what I mean? So but okay, if you're gonna play Philly guys, it would be nice to play a Knick guy. So if I did have to play one, I would not go back to Mitchell Robinson. I would rather play the 7,800 Julius Randle and then bitch when he gets 25 minutes.
See, I will always go after Mitchell Robinson again. I just think that this guy's a fantasy potential gold mine every time he steps on the court. He's always under-owned. You can always get him. It's a flyer play that it should be embraced.
Well, he's a direct pivot off of Horford if you want to do that.
I actually don't hate that. Just to get my thoughts on that, because first of all, I would like to run somebody back because obviously we like multiple Sixers, etc. I actually don't mind taking a shot on Bobby Portis. I have a weird feeling that you might see a guy like Gibson. This is a 3rd and 4 nights for them.
Yeah.
You'd assume a guy like Gibson, who's the older guy, would get less. I could just see Portis getting a little bit more run, and I don't mind Randall either. But I think Mitch Rob is a guy who I'll probably have 15% of. I'm not going to go crazy, but I'll play him. I do think on the Philly side, I have a pretty strong take. I like everybody and they all make sense. The guys, I'll be underweight on Horford, Milton, Harris, all of them. I'll play them, but I'm not gonna. I mean, what the hell with Horford last night? Is anybody watching that game? Anybody who played Horford? I thought I was about to lose in the first quarter because I think he had 20 fantasy points. And that was with Embiid. And I don't know. Did he have 1 fantasy point in the second half? He's also old on a back-to-back, on the decline of his career. Kyle O'Quinn got 12 minutes last night. He put up 8. Look, if Kyle O'Quinn gets 20 minutes, you're probably sitting pretty good. The guy is a fantasy point per minute monster. So I like Kyle O'Quinn as the guy to be overweight on this side. So the three guys I'll be overweight on will be Kyle O'Quinn, Josh Richardson, and Korkmaz. I think that's your pivot. I do think that you could make a good case for Alec Burks as a potential. Like, Shake Milton played 37 minutes last night. Alec Burks played 17. Alec Burks is a skilled player. There's no reason Alec Burks couldn't be the guy tonight that puts up something like what Shake Milton did last night. And Glenn Robinson III, while the minutes projections feels like a little low given the situation, he's probably a little bit too much of a reach. But I do think Burks, Korkmaz, and Richardson are my three favorites. I'm sorry, Korkmaz, Richardson, and O'Quinn. Now, I don't mean to go crazy with any of them except for Richardson, but I do like the other ones. I think Richardson might just be the guy I just say, F it, I'm going to play absolutely everywhere. Hard not to get in my lineups. This Philly is getting to like almost must-win territory. Like they're just skidding, and I think he's the guy they can trust the most. He's the real true guy who can. He's not really a true one, but he can play the one. That's why I don't need to go back to Milton in my mind. You can play Richardson and Burks if you're Philly. So I'm going to lean Richardson, O'Quinn, then Korkmaz, then Burks.
I'm convinced. I'm convinced. I think I like the Mitchell Robinson thing after all. I am just because of also the case you made about Horford. Just the fact he's the exact same freaking price at the exact same position.
Not to mention that Al Horford, when's the last time he put up 40, much less 50, which Mitchell Robinson just did recently.
And also, if Kyle O'Quinn is actually starting, it's just kind of hard to not play him. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's 3K. Is it possible that who's this other guy? Norville Pell? Does he play? You know what I mean? I don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know if he's out. He was out. He was announced out last time. I'll see what happens with that one. But for right now, I was assuming he wasn't in.
I mean, wouldn't I rather play him at 3K than, like, for example,
Who?
O'Quinn than like Avery Bradley or somebody like that?
Yeah, and we can speculate on his minutes projection. Now, he never plays a ton of minutes, but what's interesting about him is, like, Bradley, obviously you're going to get the minutes, but with O'Quinn, what's cool is that he played 12 minutes, and that was coming in later in the game, and we've got him projected at 14. Tell me there's not upside for 20, and I'll tell you you're crazy. Hey, a little Kyle O'Quinn revenge too, Knicks. No, forget that. That has nothing to do with what I'm thinking about here. But I'm starting to become a bigger and bigger fan of this O'Quinn long shot play. Might even throw him into a big buy-in because we've seen this. He's won me tournaments before with 14-minute projections, and it would feel silly on a 4-game slate to maybe not give it a shot. So I'm into it.
Let me ask you a question. If Kyle O'Quinn is 15% owned, would you play him?
No, there's no way that'll happen.
You sure?
If he's announced as starter, that's the way it'll happen.
Well, I can't imagine him not being. How is he not starting?
Why would he? Al Horford plays center his whole life. It's not like the Knicks have. It's not like that. Even these Knicks have these big guys. It's not like they're big guys that are tough to match up with. Tobias Harris played the 4 most of his life. You know what I mean? Josh Richardson can play the 3.
Yeah, I guess. And who's going to start here? Robinson?
Oh, I don't think Robinson would start. It would be Taj and Randall.
No. For the Sixers.
Oh, you said Robinson. Oh, Glenn Robinson. I'm assuming that it'll. Yeah, I guess they'll probably. I mean, or Milton. I don't know which one that they'll run out. I don't.
No, I already have. I'm thinking Horford, Harris, Richardson, Milton, and a 5th.
Did you say Richardson, Milton, and Korkmaz?
Korkmaz. Okay.
I mean, Korkmaz is definitely in play. By the way, if he's going to play 25 minutes, he has to get hot, of course. But like we just saw it happen not too long ago, and now they need more shots up. So I'll take that shot. So Al Horford is obviously a great play. I want to make this clear. But when you have 1,000,000% ownership on somebody that hasn't really flashed upside in a long time and does look old, beaten up on a back-to-back.
Screw Al Horford.
You know what I mean? Let's be below the field.
See what happened? See what I did? See?
Well, what if the problem is, what if that one means that you guys are crazy, you got to be playing Al Horford?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I just said screw Al Horford, and I got number one, they probably didn't like the term screw. Second of all, they didn't like the fact that I was fading him. These alarms are the alarm narrative is very, very powerful.
Oh man, that's hilarious. All right, you ready to move on?
Yep.
All right.
So Portland, Indiana. For whatever reason, I still feel as though like Sabonis is the other guy still plays for Portland. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
so Portland against Indiana. So you got to find me a price where you can't play McCollum, and haven't quite found it yet. He looked too expensive last time, and he was kind of just slogging along a little bit. And he still ended up at 60.
55, yeah.
So I know he's got a matchup, blah 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 blah. But I mean, the ball's just in his hands every freaking possession. He's playing 40 minutes. It's going to be. It just goes to show how good this guy is. You know what I mean? Like, you've been saying it a long time. You know, comparing him to some other players.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's just awesome. I mean, he can shoot, he can pass, he can dribble, he can do whatever. So he looks to be a tremendous play at high ownership.
He's a terrific example, by the way, and I use actually him and Trae Young as a comparison. That's a guy I always say. In real life basketball, anybody in any basketball circle, if you want to know who's a better basketball player, CJ McCollum is a much better basketball player than Trae Young is. I'm sorry. He is a much better basketball player. He doesn't have the same opportunity or anything even close to what Trae Young did. If he did, not only would he probably put up similar numbers, the team would be better, more competitive, and probably more complete as a whole. And you see what he's doing, though, with them, even numbers-wise. So maybe you could look at it as like, wow, we're getting Trae Young at 9K. That's almost the way you want to look at it.
So my issue here in this game, think about this, and you got to be a little slate driven here also, is, you know, I do like Whiteside, but I also kind of like Sabonis. And if I like both of them, you know, I'm already playing McCollum. So if I'm playing McCollum, if I play either of those guys I just mentioned, Whiteside or Sabonis, then I can't play Davis. So I mean, I already have all these. Well, I could. I don't need to play Wiggins, obviously, but I do like both those guys. I do like Whiteside a little bit. I mean, I would say a decent amount, and I do like Sabonis on the other side. I'm not really into Carmelo today, nor anybody else in Portland. And I guess on FanDuel, I thought I liked Brogdon, but not on DraftKings as much. So I really wasn't too into him. I don't know if I'm willing to go back to Turner. I guess he looks fine. Look, you know what? He's another 5,200 center. I could do that. I could just put him right instead of what's his face, Robinson, if I wanted to do that. So look, there's all these freaking Horford pivots, you know, between Turner and Robinson that you can make. So if Horford does end up being like as chalky as he could be, those are just two very obvious in a way kind of pivots off him. I guess that's
the only weird part about it, though, is that Turner is projecting for pretty high ownership right now.
Oh, is he? Oh, I imagine.
And that's sort of straight. Well, I don't really understand it, to be honest with you. I would have thought
because you play Horford at power forward, maybe.
No, but it's just that why is he getting attention? Like, this is not a different situation for him. It's actually, you could argue it's a tougher matchup, but he would maybe need to be on the court a little bit more. But I don't really understand what this love is. Like, I actually have interest in him. I thought he was a good off-the-board play. And so I immediately said I want some of them. And now I'm like, I don't want to have him at high ownership tonight.
Well, I will just say this. So 2 days ago when you were on the train or whatever, and I was doing this by myself, like I was looking at, it was about this time of day, and I was looking to see Turner's like rated to be like 25% chalk, and I can't even the life of me figure out why. And at halftime he had 40 fantasy points. I don't know. I don't know what the story is, but he's again, if he's going to be high owned, I guess I'm going to have to fade him again and lose. But I do think that Turner's fine. But my top guys, again, no surprise, would be McCollum, Whiteside, and Sabonis.
Yeah, I may turn my mind around on Turner, but I'm right now planning to be actually with the field because I like the play because I like stretch bigs against Whiteside. And Turner's a great defender, but I could see foul trouble being an issue here. I also think this game could get really out of hand badly for Portland. So all of these things being considered, it's hard for me to decide. I sort of have like a medium amount of interest of everybody on this. Like Sabonis, I'm fine with taking a shot on. I'm fine with taking a shot on TJ Warren. I'm fine with taking a shot on Turner, but I don't really feel great about any of them, even though the matchup is elite in terms of like pace and scoring, you know, the bump they're getting scoring wise and all that. You also have Oladipo coming back. I know it's going to happen for somebody. Maybe a 4-game slate would be the time to take a shot with it. I think I'll save that shot probably for FanDuel, where he's 4,800. But I don't think if I did max enter tonight, which I'm not sure if I'm going to do, I would think Oladipo would definitely be on some of my lineups. I can't get over what's going to start happening. I mean, we called it out with some of these guys. You know, Jared Allen started winning people tournaments again. This is a much better version of all this. Like, this is a guy who's going to be a 9K-ish player at some point before the end of the season. And I just want to be ahead of the curve.
I actually don't believe that his ownership on FanDuel is going to be high. So I would so like usually what I would do, like for example, I see Oladipo is 6,200 here and he's going to be 4,600 on FanDuel. I would say, you know what, I worry about playing him here, but if I play him on FanDuel, he's going to be chalky. I don't even think he's going to get ownership on FanDuel either.
No, I don't think it'll be much either. It'll be a little bit, but it wouldn't be much. And then it's hard with these guys when they're all healthy or ish. It's hard, but I do think I would like even more. I would like to like more of them. I'm fine with McCollum, but I don't want to get carried away with it. Again, I think this game could get out of hand, and at crazy high ownership at this price, you're going to need quarters out of McCollum. You're not going to get it in 2.5 quarters where they're getting blown out, and that is a real possibility to me. I also think Whiteside has some danger in this matchup too. Again, Turner, a very good defender. They've got, some good solid bigs. The pace is sort of a good pace for Whiteside, but another guy who I'm just trying to get below the field on these small slates. I don't like to play guys, so I'll be a little bit below on Whiteside. I'll be a little bit below on McCollum. I'll still have ownership in them, but not that much. The guys who I'll take my chances with, I don't mind taking the shots with Gary Trent. And I think that the really long shot play is Anthony Simons. Like, another guy who's a pivot off of Rondo. Look, he hasn't done what we thought he would do. He did get the minutes in one of the games. He played 27 minutes against New Orleans. It's I think that it's volatile, but there's definitely enough upside to take a shot with it. Maybe you would even play him in a lineup with a Rondo or probably with a Rondo or something like that rather than the other way. But I do think that at no ownership in a spot where like a week ago he would have been 40 or 50% owned is kind of interesting. So I also think with the blowout thing, he's going to get that run too. So there's a lot of ways I could see, let's just say Anthony Simons has a lot of outs tonight, I think. And like you, I'm not particularly interested in Carmelo. Wouldn't be surprised if he ended up in a lineup or two, but I'm worried about this game overall. I would just try to play the guys who lend themselves a little more to the blowout run, except for maybe in a stack if you're going to do it one, but I'm not loving it.
I'm not worried too much about, for whatever reason, about the blowout as you are.
Interesting.
I also think that, I don't know, get too much basketball.
Did you see what he did a couple days ago?
Yeah, I hear you. But I will also say that that from a basketball perspective, not to make this too much about basketball, but I think that Whiteside could actually have a really, really good game because what Turner is good at and he showed in his last game, he is good. It's kind of just basically leaving his help and like getting these random blocks of people that are just kind of just driving. And if he like leaves Whiteside at all, I think Whiteside can get a zillion offensive rebounds and lobs and dunks and stuff like that. I think the Whiteside could have a really good game if Turner does what he wants to do, which is basically block everybody else's shot.
Yeah, but he's also going to stretch him out on the offensive end and keep him away from the basket.
Absolutely.
So it goes both ways. But yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Sacramento, Oklahoma City. So that's really funny. So I have my phone on, my Google phone on. Mm-hmm. It just yelled at me. It says, "Here is a map of Sacramento Boulevard in Oklahoma City." Because it caught my voice. All right, so Danilo Gallinari. That's the first thing I will say. Is I say every one of these things that he's just never going to win anybody at GPP, like ever. And in the last game, he had like 25 real life points in like the first half, and it just didn't matter. He still ended up with 5.5x or something like that. Just amazing. He's still going to project to be a really, really good cash play, I guess. Certainly going to be a good little 6,300 guy to fill in if you can't think of anything else to do. But I would much rather play other guys in GPPs than him for Golden State. Like I would much rather play Schroeder at 5,500. Maybe not going to project quite as well, but I definitely think he has more of an upside. I would even rather play Shea at what looks like a kind of an overpriced 7,400, but I'd rather play either of those guys over Gallinari. The other guys I know doesn't look so hot. I'm not going to go down to Paul. I'm not going to go down to Paul. I'm talking about value rankings. I don't think I want to play Paul. Adams, I guess, just all right. I could go back to the guy who just failed for me recently. Go back to, boy, you want another 3,300 pivot? You could try Nerlens Noel again. I mean, Adams played really well, and Noel wasn't really, a factor in his last game, but he always has that capability of doing something. So at 3,300, maybe he's a decent pivot. And then on Sacramento, it's just for me, just Fox, I suppose. And I wasn't going to go elsewhere if you wanted the truth.
So I think this is a really good time on these kind of slates. I love to attack the guys with just upside, when they're going to be low on. So Buddy Hield just stands out to me as one of those guys tonight. Like,
Yep.
It's not, you don't need a logical rhyme or reason for me to explain. Like, that's not going to help. You know what I mean? I will point out that in 3 of his last 4 games, he's been above 34. He's 6,100.
No. I would like to point out that I am a fish because I want to find it somewhere, but last time he played again, I think it was Oklahoma City. I was a projection donkey, and I didn't really like him too much. And I was thinking about you, and I wrote down different things about different narratives, totally forgetting that he freaking played in Oklahoma. Yeah. And I think if you look back, he's not in his last 10, so it's not here.
It was, his last time there when he played in Oklahoma City, he put up 44 fantasy points. Yeah, he took 24 shots. He was 9 for 24 from the floor.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna let that burn me again. So even though he's projecting badly, I am totally with you.
This is how you win small slates. You do that, or you make that giant pivot. You don't necessarily need to do both, but this is a great guy to take a shot on. And at the same time, I mean, I like De'Aaron Fox quite a bit here too. I think this game plays faster than people think. Now the total actually has it pretty high, like higher than most OKC at home games are. But I think it's going to play pretty quick. I don't mind Bogdanovich either, or Bjelica. Bjelica is an interesting one because I think he's sort of going to get overlooked, and I think he might be a good sneaky play if you're going to play somebody from the other side. I am very much on the train that 7,400 is not too cheap for Shea. I love Shea. He's my favorite play from this side by far. I think that he's a really, really strong, pretty high floor, really high upside guy. So he's my favorite from that side. I think that next would have to be Schroeder, who I like a lot as well, but he's going to have a lot of ownership. Him and Shea will probably have similar ownership, I would guess. Danilo, I don't mind getting raw points on small slates. So if I'm going to do some different things elsewhere, I'll take it. I'll take my 30 to 35 from Danilo or whatever, someplace. I'm just not like wildly on board with it. I'll probably be below the field on him because I think a lot of people are going to play him. And I do think Noel is always on these kind of slates, man. This is what you want. There's going to be other chalk guys who are going to be, where a guy who, he doesn't rate as being great value tonight, and there's nobody out making him a great play. Maybe he is just a good play just for that reason. Just, why can't he go out there in his 18 minutes and put up 30 fantasy points? I think it's completely like if Kyle O'Quinn did become chalk, that would be a good pivot to me.
No, I got a better one. So I got one for you. So the other day I played I actually did play Harry Giles 100% on both sites, on FanDuel and on Draftkings. I just thought that his minutes were pretty, he was finally getting minutes, and I really was very confident. It worked out. My one fear going into that game was going to be that Alex Len was back, and that if Giles was not having a good game or for whatever reason, they felt like it, they would give Alex Len minutes. And on a 4-game slate, dude, I'm kind of into this Alex Len thing at 3,300. With the Noel and these other 3,300s, I think it's very, very possible the exact same thing I was worried about happening that didn't happen the other day might happen today. And I think that Len at 3,300 is a good 4-game slate play.
Okay. All right. I'm into it. I like that call. So we've got a bunch of, these cheap centers that we can take shots on. And we play a little bit chalky some other places, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have a hard time fading certain guys who are high priced because there is this value, or at least the potential of, there's definitely good value, and then there's potential of great value for a bunch of guys.
Okay. So I guess that's it for that game. Yeah, yep. I guess so. All right. So last game is Lakers against Golden State. All I'll say is this. Anthony Davis on one side is projected for 36 minutes, and on another side that I'm looking at is projecting for 34 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in both of those cases, I think that there's only downside from there, given this matchup. And it's one of those things that somebody wants to debate me on that. I don't need to win the debate when the guy's going to be 80% owned. You know what I mean? So I am not 100% convinced that I just need to just lock in Anthony Davis. Not to mention the usual, hashtag Anthony Davis crap that can go on with him. So is he a great play? Obviously. I mean, like LeBron's out, and whenever LeBron's out, he averages 7 billion fantasy points per minute, right? My issue is going to be if I don't play him, how to just make up those points. You know what I mean? It's not that many raw points out there. I guess McCollum you consider a good raw points type play, but that's going to be only my issue is how to get those points back. But I don't necessarily have to lock in Anthony Davis. He'll be in my first lineup. Maybe he'll be my second. But there's going to come a point where I don't play him. How about that?
Yeah.
Other guys on Lakers, I'll let you talk about this again. You did talk about it earlier in the before we even started about this Rondo thing. He's going to be just extremely popular, and if you can give me any reason to not play him, there's just you have to not play him. That's just the way it works with huge chalk guys like that. Like yesterday with Pirtle, you kind of try to give me a reason not to play him. And that's all you need is really one. The guys should be that high owned. And last night was on a freaking, not enormous, but compared to this, like a much bigger slate. Like here, if I can find a way to get off of this Rondo chalk here and not have it kill me. Now, like you said, if he gets 40 and you don't have him, you just lose. Okay, unless somehow your 3,500 guy can just get 40 or 35 or something like that. But you're going to have to, if you're going to fade him, you're just going to have to resign yourself to the fact that if it gets 40, you lose. But I do think that there's possibilities where he gets, 15 fantasy points. I mean, it can happen. So, look, projections say he's going to be a tremendous play. And if I were playing cash, I would play him, like, for sure. But in a four game slate GPP, I mean, I can have better $3,500 guys to lock in, I think. Problem is also Golden State side is just as ugly as it comes. God knows what they're going to do with this lineup. I honestly don't know, especially with Green playing. Like all these guys, their minutes are just kind of all over the place. And I guess that means if you want, you could just take shots. I mean, I don't want to – again, I put Wiggins in my original lineup. I don't want to play him. I mean, I'd much rather, if you want to know the truth, I'd much rather play Buddy Hield, like you said, than play Wiggins. I bet you Hield gets more than Wiggins in, a decent enough time. And he's $1,100 cheaper. You know what I mean? And then, obviously my MVP, Damian Lee, would be fine, I suppose. But I don't know. Maybe I originally was going to just play Anthony Davis and maybe Rondo and try to run it back with some low-roll Golden State guys, but they all look kind of shitty. You know what I mean? So yeah. I don't know what to tell you with this game.
The guy I would look at from the Golden State side real quick is Draymond. I think that there's plenty of upside at 5,500 for Draymond in this game. And you just have to sort of, you can't look at all the game logs and wonder about everything. Well, even if you do, it's not like the worst case scenario. I mean, we're a few weeks removed from some 42, 48, 46s. Assuming he plays his normal minutes, I like Draymond because I do want to run some of the other side. I think Davis, I prefer Davis to all the other guys, but again, I'll be right near the field with him, probably just a tiny bit below, just because I'm trying to get different on the small slate. I'll be below the field on Rondo, but I feel nervous about it. I still am going to have a lot of them. What I think the best thing to do is if you can try to find a way to stack this game, I would encourage it, even if you want to play multiple Lakers in doing so, because I think that without having a starting lineup and a realistic idea of what's going to happen, like who knows who starts in this situation? You know what I mean? It's going to be presumed Rondo, but it's not a guarantee. And I just think it's worth keeping an eye on some of these other guys. So, or if you do play Rondo, you can play these guys with him. KCP would actually be one of the guys I would look at because I think that there's he's one of those guys, if he gets hot shooting, he can actually put up a big number, and they're going to need shots to go somewhere. I really like Kuzma. I don't understand why the ownership projections don't have him higher. I don't care what the numbers say. He doesn't play. He doesn't match up. He doesn't work well with LeBron. That's the biggest issue I have. One of the biggest issues with him. People thought he did. He really doesn't. He's a streak shooter, a streak player. They're going to need offense to come from other places tonight. Maybe not need, but I'm going to be heavy over the field on Kuzma. I'll be over the field on KCP. I'll be over the field on Caruso. So Caruso, I actually think you could play Caruso and Rondo in some of the same lineups tonight. I just think that why are we going to guesstimate that Caruso is going to be playing like his normal or less minutes? So 3 out of his last 4 games, Caruso's minutes were 17, 23, 22. That's with everybody. Like, why are we going to assume he's going to play less than that with LeBron out? Like, I just don't get it, especially because he's trending in the right direction. And he put up 30 fantasy points in his last game against New Orleans. It was terrific in that game. I think he's really worth taking a shot on. And, honestly, JaVale and Dwight, there might be some extra rebounds to go around, and it's a good matchup. I sort of like JaVale, and I don't have a great explanation except for that maybe they give him a tiny bit more run here. They're really bad inside in Golden State. The rebounds could, he's obviously cheaper than Howard. And then you get, I don't care about the revenge exactly, but maybe he stays on the court a little bit longer. I don't know. It's a 3K guy who definitely is still on the radar, but
he played for Golden State. What was it, 10 years ago?
No, he just played for them. It was where he came from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was at Golden State. He won the title with them.
Yeah, so I guess the obvious thing that you could suggest if you play MME is just take all these guys and just kind of just play some of them. You know what I mean? Like play. What do you say? You deaner some of them, or you dean them up?
Dean them up at 10%. Yeah, but I don't think Kuzma fits into that category. I think Kuzma's the guy you try to take a higher shot on. Not to mention that he's torched this team like in the past. I don't know. I just think that Kuzma is the one who that 22 minutes projection that I'm sort of seeing across the industry just feels a little off to me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I think Avery Bradley is another guy that you can just rotate through. You know what I mean? Like, if again, just being me, like the way I just kind of look at stock market life, DFS or whatever. Like, if I were going to do this, I'd probably play Davis. If I was going to play Davis and play other guys, I would probably fade Rondo and Green, just because Rondo would be the chalkiest, and Green just because he's coming off the best game. And then just kind of hope that either Kuzma, Caruso, or KCP would just happen to be the one to get hot. Again, on a 4-game slate, that's just kind of the way I'm looking at it. I guess, again, like, if you want to play Rondo and Davis together, you really just can't play. I guess there are things you could do, but
yeah, you could play a Simons, or you could play O'Quinn, or you could play one of those guys like that. So you can do it together. I mean, look, they're going to, as much as I said I'm going to be below the field, they're still going to be in nearly half my lineups. It's just,
sure.
I'm just not going to have them at 75%, and I'm going to take those other shots and divide them up between the Carusos. And
you know what? Maybe the idea is doing what you said. Is just, you know what? Look, the game is probably not going to stay close unless it does. You know what I mean? So maybe you take the Golden State guys that are going to keep it close, like Wiggins, or I love your freaking Draymond Green. You know what I mean? Like, he's at least the guy who's gonna, he's played good games before, and he always has that triple double upside.
Yeah, Draymond Green could put up like 50 or 60. We haven't seen that exact number in a while, but it's not out of the realm of possibility at all. I mean, you have a big national televised game. They just built a brand new stadium. He's been much better at home in these situations than he has on the road this year. This is not exactly a rivalry, but it's a team that you want to sort of let them know that you're still around. Like, this is the team that you're going to be competing with for the title next year. There's a lot of reasons you can find that little extra energy to play Draymond tonight that I like. So he's definitely my favorite run back for sure.
Yeah,
I'm with you on the Wiggins. I want to be below the field on Wiggins, but I do think that, like, if I'm going to play this many Lakers, I might have to have a little bit of exposure.
He stinks.
Man, I hear you.
That's you're getting some heavy duty analysis in this podcast. You got screw Horford, you got Wiggins stinks. You know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of really highbrow analytics that you pay for, which is why you're not paying for it.
There you go. All right, man. Well, we got to do our FanDuel video, so we're going to get out of here. We will be back with you guys shortly. Thanks so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe. Really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.